Okay, for this exercise, we are launching Illustrator. So you'll want to click on the Illustrator icon from your app location. So wherever, depending on the type of computer you have, on a PC, you can always do a search for the app and then launch it from there. Or in my case, I'm on a MacBook Pro and I can just click on the launch pad and you can see that I have a lot going on here. But I have my Illustrator icon here, so I just double tap that to launch it. And once I have Illustrator open, what I can do now is create a new document. So this is basically for Photoshop, InDesign, a lot of the Adobe platforms, a window like this comes up and we can create a new type of file. So if we don't see here, these are just defaults. So what people typically create. If you don't see here what you're looking for and you don't understand the measurements that are coming up here, what you can do is you can just create new. And that's probably the easiest way to launch a new document. And then you can see we have more options here. Because we are going to print this final piece that we're working on, we are going to move across the top here. So from recent, we go across the top and we're going to choose print. You can see there's lots of different types of templates that we can use here. So I'm going to choose print. And it brings up this letter. It also has all these great, awesome templates that we can take advantage of, including logos. But again, we're going to be talking about creating unique designs that are unique to you instead of using templates so that we don't look like everybody else. And I'm just going to click on this letter icon to create a new letter document. Now, right now it's set to points. I'm going to show you how to set that to another measurement. So here we go. I've selected letter. I'm going to go over to the right-hand side and I'm going to call this practice. Okay, so right now the default is in points. I'm going to change that unit measure for myself to inches. Choose whichever one you're familiar with. So an 8.5 by 11 is a standard size letter page. I'm not going to worry about anything else here. We're working in our color mode is CMYK. Our pixels per inch is 300. We will be discussing that during class and throughout the semester as to why that's important. And here we go. Here's our letter size page. Now the next thing we need to do is download from the portal. If I go to your class, it's probably going to ask me to log in again. Here we go. So go to your class, sign into our course, and in week 1, you're going to find a JPEG that you need to download under the Contents tab. There, under week 1, you'll see that we have the pen tool exercise. Please download that file. It might ask you where you might want to save it. Often it goes to your documents. So that's what it looks like. And what I'm going to do, my Mac opened it under preview. What I want to do is I want to actually export that as a JPEG. It actually is a JPEG. If I just go into my folder, I can go find that, but I'm just going to export it and I'm going to save it to my desktop as a JPEG called Pen Tool Exercise, so it's easier for me to find. I could go into my documents to find it as well. I could go into my downloads to find it, wherever I've downloaded it. My computer automatically opens those things, so I took advantage of being able to resave it. So now I'm going back to Illustrator, and the next thing I need to do is File and Place. So if you want to add any photographs, if you've scanned in an illustration and now you want to trace it in Illustrator, you need to place that illustration. So I'm going to go down to File and to Place. This is the same in your other programs as well. And now I just need to look for that pen tool exercise. There it is. And I'm going to click Place. Now here's the thing, it's attached to my mouse. This will happen in your other programs as well. And except for Photoshop, it will place the embedded image and then you can resize it before you hit return to commit to that placement. But for this one, you can see it's attached to my mouse. So if I click, it's going to place it the size, its original size. It's far too large, right? So I'm going to Control Z or Command Z on my Mac, and I'm going to file place that again. So there are two ways to place. If you already cropped the image to size and you know how big it is, it's going to be easier for you to place because you already know the size. But what if you're downloading and you're playing around with images and you're just placing images to see how they're going to look in your layout? Well, there's another way to place. So instead of just clicking to place and now it's way too big for my file, I can click, drag. So I'm going to click, hold, and drag, and I can place it the size I want it to be. So there we go. There's my file. And now I need to lock it into place because I'm going to now follow the directions and play with this pen tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go onto the Object menu, select Lock, and I'm going to lock that selection. You can see it's still selected because it's highlighted and you can see the anchor points that are involved in that selection. So I'm going to lock that selection. Now it's out of my way. So now I'm going to zoom in. You can Command on a Mac, Control on a PC, and scroll to start here. And so this is called the pen tool. So I'm going to select the pen tool and I'm going to start working. So this is a pen tool exercise and it takes a while to learn how to use the pen tool correctly. But once you learn how to use it, it's amazing what you can design and create in Illustrator. So I'm going to follow the directions here. Click here, click here, click here. And as you can see, I'm following each click. Now, why are things disappearing as I go? See how it's covering things up? Why is that? Well, take a look over at our color palette here. It's a white fill with no outline. Well, let's fix that right away. So now this white fill in the bottom of the toolbox, if I click on the default fill and stroke, it'll keep the fill white and change the outline, the stroke, to black. And now you can see that's happening here. So if I keep going and I click through, I now can't see where to place the next one because it's filled this corner to this corner with white. So what do? I click on that white box. Don't worry, it's still connected to your mouse, but don't worry. Click on the white fill. And if we move to this corner, oh, we can fill it with none. Perfect. So now we're just left with a black stroke. So now it says to click here. But there needs to be another 11 at the top. We have to finish our path. To finish the path, if you can see it, when I hover over that corner anchor point and it says intersect, also take a look at what's attached to my pen tool. Currently there's nothing floating around my pen tool except the measurement. To the right there you can see the D 0.15 inches. But as I move closer to that anchor point, as soon as I hover over it, do you see that circle that pops up? That means I'm going to close my path. As soon as I click on that, I've now closed it, and you notice there's no lines following your pen tool anymore. You've now completed that path, you've closed it off, and now you can move to the next exercise. This exercise is curved line, and this is what people find tricky. This one was pretty simple, right? Click 1, click 2, click 3, click 4. That's all you do. You just click, move your mouse, click, move your mouse. But now we have to click and press and hold down. Click, press, hold. Now I'm going to hold the Shift key as it tells me, and I'm going to drag to point 2 and let go when I get there. Okay, and then I'm also going to let go of my Shift key. Now you can see what's attached to my mouth. It's no longer just a straight line. That was a click, click, click. What's coming out of these things are handles, and it creates what are called Bezier curves. So now when I move down to point 3, I'm going to click, hold, drag, and hold shift again and drag it to point number 4. Let go of my shift key, and drag my mouse to point 5. I'm going to continue that process by clicking, holding, hold shift, dragging to the left till I meet point 6. Let go of my shift key. Notice I haven't pressed on number 6. I've only dragged my mouse to number 6. I'm going to move my mouse to number 7. Click, press, hold. Now press shift and drag the mouse up to number 8. Let go. Now, why am I holding shift? Well, it's giving me a perfectly straight line. Now, what it doesn't say is let's go back to point 1. Remember that having to close our path? There's the circle that tells us we're closing up our path at that anchor point. But we're going to have to click, hold shift, and drag to point 2 again to get that perfect curve we want to make our perfect circle. Let go of your mouse, let go of your shift key. Always let go of your mouse first. And now you can see we have closed our path. Now, if you've made a mistake, we have this awesome thing called the direct selection tool. So in all programs, you're probably familiar with a selection tool, an arrow. Well, we have a white arrow. So what's the difference? Our black arrow, when we click away, we see we have this solid circle. If I click on the circle, you can see that we have anchor points all over here, and when we hover over those, we can change how that works. Okay, we can distort it, we can grab a corner. But what if we want to manipulate this path? Right now, all I'm able to do is move the whole object because I'm using a black arrow, a selection tool. A direct selection tool allows you to select a single anchor point. Now I'm still moving the whole thing. Why? Because my anchor points are solid blue. So if I click away, hover over top of that anchor point, you can see that only one shows up when I hover. I can now click on that anchor point. I'll click on this one. And I can take a look at this handle, and now I can manipulate my curve. Okay, I'm using Control Z or Command Z on a Mac, Control Z on a PC. In order to Command Z will undo what I just did. So if I'm finding that my curves aren't perfectly set, so I can zoom in, Control or Command plus. And I can see this line to me looks a little wonky. I'm not following that gray line there. So what I'm going to do is grab this handle, hold shift, and pull it in a little bit. Grab the handle, pull shift, pull it in a little bit. There, so now I've smoothed out that curve a little bit. So you can now manipulate the lines once you've created them. And that's using the white arrow, allowing to create. We can do all sorts of cool things in here with Illustrator. So Command or Control 0 to show the entire page in its entirety in full screen. Control 1 is 100%. Control or Command plus is to zoom in. Control or Command minus is to zoom out. So continue following the instructions to work with learning how to use the pen tool properly. Okay? And have fun with practicing with the pen tool.